How are you?
We're great.
Good. How are you?
I'm so good. Listen, I love Rugrats. It was like one of my favorite shows when I was younger. And so I was super excited because I have two kids. When they were like rebooting it, I'm like, girls, you're going to love this. And then again, pressure was on, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, they better love this.
Yeah, you're telling us.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's what I was going to say. And they do love it, by the way. So, phew, good thing. But for you guys coming in as like, not because a lot of the original voice cast did come back and you guys didn't. So what was that like? Can you talk about like the pressure?
Yeah.
There was pressure. I mean, that because the show, like you said, it's so loved. Like the people love this show. And so, and the original voice actors of the adults, Melanie Chardoff played Dee Dee originally. I loved Dee Dee. She is amazing, Melanie is. And so, yeah, I had major fear and just was shocked that I got picked to do it. And then it was like, oh, here we go, and I remember after I did the first couple episodes, I called my agent. I was like, do you think I need to take some classes or something to make sure that I'm up to this? And she was like, Ashley, I think you need to it was so ridiculous. But I'm being I haven't said that yet this whole day. And I just admitted it. I mean, I was very concerned.
That's adorable.
She said, yeah, like give it a moment. I think you're going to be okay. And so, yeah, it's scary and exciting and so fun.
If anyone doesn't need classes in this kind of work, it's actually, I'll just go on record. But yeah, I mean, I think I remember my first day. I think we're in the studio together because it was pre-pandemic. Some of my favorite, I'm meeting Ashley for the first time. Some of my favorite actors are there: Tony Hale, Natalie Morales. We're all there. All this, Charlie Adler is sort of a legend of the business directing the show. I mean, I think we actors that have been doing this long enough, you develop all these little tricks to just kind of compartmentalize and just get through. I'm just like, I'm just hoping I could say the lines without my tongue falling out of my mouth. And then on the way out, Nancy Cartwright comes in and is like, oh, hey, good to meet you. I mean, just an overwhelming day for a voice actor. So it kind of felt like survival early on. But as I've said before, this is such a welcoming group of creative minds. They really encourage us to bring ourselves to the work, to take big swings and be weird and wild and fall on our faces in our quest to get it right. That very quickly it became just one of my favorite gigs.
Oh yeah.
It's so funny that it's like the babies are like the returning and then like the adults are like the new ones coming in, you know what I mean? So like, did they offer any advice kind of? Were they like, hey guys, or did you just do your own thing?
I think we just did our own thing. I have Ashley's tired of me telling the story because it's a very boring one, but I have a 14-month-old, so my memory has largely been erased in the last year. But I remember just kind of just jumping in, and just trying stuff. I think they were very careful in the casting process, I remember doing a couple of, a couple different rounds of casting. I can't remember really. I think I sent in a tape and went in and met with them and did a bunch of different stuff. So I think they were so thorough at that point that once you got the gig, you thought, well, they must trust me. So here goes. I mean, and I should say, over the course of recording an episode, there's a lot of great guidance and suggestions, and it's very collaborative in a helpful way. But early on, it was kind of like, hey, you got the gig. Here's the deep end.
Yeah, we all met the first time doing the first episode, so we showed up and got right to it. I think the probably biggest note early on, even through the auditioning process, was like, don't try to imitate the original. I mean, something with such a big presence, it could be, you might not even mean to, it's just like, that's how you, and so it was like, don't do that. That's not what we're looking for here. So that was helpful because they're such giants, the original actors who portrayed these characters, that to even try would not, that wouldn't be good.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, that's that's something I love about this. Like, again, watching it with my kids, like it's like Rugrats, but it's like updated Rugrats, so it's not the same stuff. And can you just kind of talk about like the importance of taking something but then modernizing it, right?
Yeah, I think they did such a good job. I mean, like, you know, the addition of millennial parents really refreshes it, and you're telling the familiar stories of parenthood and friends and family and all that stuff. But by refracting it through a new lens, you've got not a totally new world, because obviously I hope it resonates in the same way that the original does. But just by bringing those stories of modern parenting, I makes it sort of makes everything new again. But also, I think you gotta do that for the humor of it. It's so funny. I mean, the what do we how do we deal with raising kids in the era of cell phones and tablets and those types of distractions? And what is our thing? Actually, click clack instead of TikTok.
Click clack.
All that stuff. I think allows us as performers to bring our real experiences, to the work, because we're going through all that stuff. I mean, I'm trying to get my kid not to look at screens, but I'm looking at a screen all day long. Yeah. I mean, how am I the parent for that?
It's so hypocritical. I get it. I'm right there with you with my kids. Ashley, do you have anything to add about modernizing it?
Yeah, I mean, I just think they've done such a great job. Everything, I mean, the technology is such a big one. And I'm always one that's weary of like including technology in like cell phones and things, but the way that they have handled it, it's so honest. Like Tommy was mentioning earlier, there's an episode where the family is like putting all the phones away and the box is just trying to have like a present moment without these devices attached to our bodies. And that's very real. I mean, that's a very real struggle.
Yeah, and I think it also gets away. I mean, getting away from the technology for a second, it gets to the way that kind of families are organized now too. Grandpa lives at the house with them. It's Stu and Dee Dee's house. It's that whole sort of it takes a village idea, right? People are coming and going and looking after each other's kids and stuff that I really think it gives it this real emotional heft. That's really nice to play. It feels like the world we're living in, but not. I'm with Ashley. I don't like stuff that's too topical, but it doesn't ever feel like it's hitting stuff over the head like that. It just feels.
No.
It feels like, oh, this is good satire for the adults watching. This is good satire of what we're going through.
Well, that's the good thing is that, like, because I'll tell you, there are kids shows. I will not name names, but there are ones that sometimes I'm like, oh boy, all right, I'm watching this with you, I guess. But this is one that like I can enjoy, and I find myself also watching. You know what I mean? Like it's for the whole family, which is fun. It's also that nostalgia because like I loved Rugrats. So
well, that's really great to hear, because I mean the scariest thing is that that we're the thought that we're dropping the ball somehow, because the first one was so legendary. So I'm glad you're still watching.
Yes, it's so fun. And then real quick before we wrap, I know the DVD is out. So which episode is your favorite, do you think, on this one? I know it's probably so hard.
It is so hard. I've got it. I've got my DVD right here. I just realized, because I don't remember episode names. There's a lot of good ones. I've given this answer before, but the finale of season 1 has a horse named Clompers in it. And this horse Clompers helps Dee Dee and Stu organize their kitchen. And it's just the funniest stuff I've ever seen. I don't want to give too much away, but Clompers ends up singing.
He has talked about this so many times today that when I am done here today, I'm going to turn on this episode just so I can be reminded.
I mean, there's so many Clompers in. It's such a good way to put a cap on that season that that's my answer.
My favorite was I said Traditions. It is called Traditions. It's right here. Traditions. It's Tommy's first Hanukkah and Christmas Eve. And it's just about like bringing everybody's holiday traditions together and making it work and honoring what everybody individually celebrates. And it's just a really sweet episode. And also the overwhelm that can bring, like that's kind of daunting to try and make everybody happy with that. And it's honest in that way, but it it's a really like it makes you weep a little, that episode.
Mhm. It does. I definitely relate a lot more to the adults this time around watching Rugrats than I did in the past. You know, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, yep, I get it now. That's me now. I don't relate to the kids as much. Now I'm the parent.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for
Can you
your
guys hear
time.
that?
Oh.
There is a Rugrat screaming just on the other side of that wall right now.
I can't hear. It's amazing.
I can't hear it. You got a nice soundproof house.
Good.
Yeah.